interwebs. It's your favorite John Chen here on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Hey, if you're watching here on social media, make sure and click the buttons, hit subscribe, share, like, comment. If you comment during a live program, we're probably going to give you a shout out. Speaking of shout outs, you got to check out over 150 episodes of this Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online and we get a new episode every single week on Wednesday. In addition to that, we're going to talk about this today too, is that if you want to learn how to be more engaging in the world, either as a speaker, a meeting planner, or a manager of a team, come to the Engaging Conference. You go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/CON, scan this QR code, get the free ticket, or more importantly, get the VIP ticket and really get access to the amazing people that I have lined up for you. They're amazing, like this gentleman, although he's not going to show up yet at my conference, although we're going to talk about that. Maybe that might happen. But I got to tell you some things about my next guest. And I was so excited too, because I met him at a conference and he had actually heard of me. And I, of course, have been watching him. And we finally met in the real world. I felt like it was some kind of, Sound of Music moment. But this gentleman is a global expert on asking questions that build trust and connection. He's a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and the creator of the We Connect cards, of which were given out to an entire conference. This one says, "What does your perfect morning look like?" Yeah, go ahead and answer that in the chat if you're with us now. This is a tool that's being used in over 80 countries to create conversations that matter. And what his kids like to say, he's a real-life YouTuber. He's got millions of view. And the cool fact that I found out is that he got engaged while scuba diving. Please, let's welcome to the show, Chad Littlefield.
John,
what's
thank
going on
you
today?
for having me. I feel like you're the introductions you offer belong in an arena, my friend.
Oh yeah. No. He's coming in the corner. He's going against Amy Lemire. Here he is, Chad Littlefield.
Brilliant to be with you. Hello.
Actually, it's funny. You have like the we and me. I actually have my MC formula is called three and we.
I love it. What
And
is
the three and we
three?
is you. So the intro's got to be short. You can only give 3 facts about the person,
Mm,
right? And this is why I asked him. One of them has to be personal. So like you got engaged while scuba diving, right?
I did. That's true.
And then they have to say their name last. That's the whole formula.
I love it. Beautiful.
Yeah. And the intros have to do something, but they can't be long. Don't ever read a full blown bio.
Yeah, otherwise it's gonna trail off. Mark Levy helped me hone down a little bit. It's probably still lengthy, but I think there's one of the things I've appreciated so much about. There was my least favorite part of running a speaking practice.
Yeah.
Was the wordsmithing of stuff like that. It's like when somebody asks, and early on, right, when somebody asks you for a description or whatever, all that's baked now, and it's like quick links to send over. But my goodness, I would not have hated if ChatGPT exists, where able to just riff in,
Yeah.
not create a bio for me, but just like talk off the cuff for 5 minutes vaguely about this idea that you want, and then say, make this good at the end, and it like
Make this short.
does really well. Yeah, it's a very good assistant. Anyway,
Well, you might have to follow Pagin's tip too, which is in the end, make a video, and then you can actually ask all your people to introduce you to not read anything from your bio because it's already in the video. You just say something personal.
yeah,
Right.
and keep that short and punchy. And I think the visual element of that, because I'm pretty hardcore about, like, I haven't used a PowerPoint slide in the last 10 years, and I do not intend to in the next 10.
Wow.
And so for me, replacing that visual with experience in the room. But there are some things that are much better seen than they are talked about.
Well, speaking of which, actually, you reminded me too at the end of the show, there's a conference in March of 2026 that is asking for sessions just like this, Chad. So up here in the Northwest. But before we do that, why don't we take a moment here, Chad? A few of my friends don't know you like I know you. Do me a favor, take a moment to introduce who you are, what you do in the world, and I actually want to hear a little bit of the story about why you chose to get engaged while scuba diving.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll share the story like this. 12 years ago or so, I was just leading adventure trips with teenagers, taking them rock climbing, caving, mountain biking. And the first half day of that week-long thing was, quote, team building. And watching a bunch of teenagers connect with each other was too painful for me to bear, too awkward to watch. And so I just asked myself back then, like, not entrepreneur, no aspirations of professional speaking, no, like, none of that. I just asked myself, like, what could I put in between these two people and have that go better? And so I made the first iteration of these deck of We Connect cards, just a set of questions that put in between them. And all of a sudden, that conversation turned into meaningful connections. And so I made one deck just for myself, no intent to use them ever again. And then somebody came up and were like, "Oh, these are really cool. Like, can I have a deck? Where'd you get them?" Like, you can't. They don't exist anywhere else. And that was this like seed or start to realizing that, like, you know, Jerry Seinfeld's book title, Is This Anything? For me, this was the sign of like, is this anything? Yes, this is something. And in fact, I remember a mentor saying, I think someone could probably build an entire business based on the premise of just connecting people to each other, because it's done so poorly so often that there's so much room for improvement. And where in any area where there's lots of room for an improvement, you can make a living doing that. And so, yeah, so now these decks are in most countries around the world. And like I get a picture every day from somebody using them at an oil company in Dubai or in Saudi Arabia, and at like in the woods around a campfire. Yeah, but I started We and Me. Since then, created a bunch of other tools, co-authored a book called Ask Powerful Questions. And right now I'm just really on about this idea that the questions we ask are very much an edit button to the future. They're an edit button to what happens next. So I'm probably going to stop talking, and John, you're going to say something and maybe ask me a question, and it will literally edit the words that come out of my mouth, changing the short-term future, but also in the long term. Like, it's possible that the two of us will talk about something super valuable around launching virtual events or something like that, and it'll edit something in like our material reality too. And I'm excited about that.
It's so funny. We got to hang out with David Newman yesterday as part of one of our local chapter events, and he talked about all this contrarian stuff. And I'll have to see if I can find it. But we were looking for contrarian headlines about our own business, and one of them was around networking. I'll see if I can find it because we will appreciate it. But as a coach or as a facilitator too, right? The quality of your life is the quality of the questions that you ask. And I also have a tendency to ask unique questions. So what's something that you haven't shared about your engagement in scuba diving that you'd like to share, but you don't normally share?
I don't talk about it a lot, and I chose that fact to offer you because I don't think I try on podcasts to share as many things that I haven't shared anywhere else, so that this podcast is just like the majority original content and not repetitive, found on YouTube somewhere else.
Yes.
So first of all, you cannot talk underwater. That's a problem. And so I had to, like, this was more premeditated than buying a ring. I needed to go to a FedEx Kinko's, or I think Kinko's existed when I got engaged. I don't know. So I went to some print shop and got a vinyl banner that was 3 inches tall and about 4 feet wide that said, "Kate, you are my best friend and I love you. Will you marry me?" And I unrolled it. The part that I probably have never shared before is my poor planning. This was actually Kate's second certification dive. So she wasn't even certified. So she's like not super comfortable in the water to begin with. And so, dropping a lifetime decision proposal underwater, like in a cave, probably not my wisest moment, but she did say yes when we got to the surface. And we had a very weird, awkward kiss underwater because I was comfortable taking my regulator out of my mouth, but she certainly was not going to. And so I kissed her on the forehead, and it was very unromantic. And that's what it was. There you go.
She should have said yes.
I feel like the story maybe steals some magic from the headline.
She should have said yes, or it'd be like this.
Yeah.
For the scuba diver,
Right.
this is a scuba diver joke,
A
people.
second certification dive. It was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Instead, she says shark, right? Or she says crab or eel.
Well, okay. So there's one other element of this that I've actually kind of forgot about. So when you scuba dive, you try to be neutrally buoyant, right? You sound like you've been on a good bit of dives before. Try to be
Mhm.
neutrally buoyant, which means that if you take a deep breath, you float up. If you take a deep exhale, you float down.
Right.
So when you read a proposal underwater, she took a very deep breath in and got like mashed up against the roof of this cave. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's like those like OK Go videos, when they're in the weightless plane and they get pinned to the ceiling.
What you're referring to is the Earth's best music video ever by far. If
Right.
you're like listening, if you have not seen that video from OK Go, you need to go watch that. And
Go watch everything from OK Go.
yes.
Okay. No, I have a conference coming up. You have a conference up. We have so much in common, Chad. So tell me a little bit more about this gathering that you put together.
Yeah. So I think this is why this podcast is going to be fun, because we're walking on parallel tracks, and we're kind of singing in the same choir of, even if you are remote, I exist on the planet to help design and redesign gatherings for contribution and not just consumption, right? It's super, super easy. So even when you said, if you're watching this, answer this question: what does your perfect morning look like? You broke a fourth wall there that's usually never broken in a podcast, which is inviting everybody who might be listening to be a part of what's happening right now. And so for me, I realized the last 10 years of my practice have been all private engagements. Nobody from the public could go to, and that's been fine. I've built a lovely practice off of that, and a lovely life, and made an impact that I want to, and doing what I want. Just in the last couple of years, like the list has grown to a point of there's 55,000 people hovering around. The YouTube channel is grown quite a lot. And so last year, as an experiment, I stood up an event to work with people that, like, I know that if I have a cup of coffee with someone who is a professional connector or gatherer or facilitator or trainer, I know that we won't want to stop drinking coffee, and we'll want it to go on for 8 hours. And so the intent was to create an event filled with people that I would like to have coffee with for 8+ hours. And so I created the Connectors Summit, which is hosted every December when folks like us tend to kind of quiet down
Yeah.
from travel and conferences and paid work. And the idea is to come together and sharpen our saw. So it's this like really lovely stack virtually over the course of 3 days, with lots of healthy breaks in between. So not 3 full days on the internet. I don't care how engaging things are. If you're back to back for 3 days, like, someone's going to be tired at the end. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, some really intentionally built-in breaks. Do have Priya Parker, the author of The Art of Gathering. Her and I are going to co-kick off the summit
What?
with a conversational keynote, which I'm super pumped about.
Oh, talk about that. How did you get that to happen?
I know.
I
Pulled
saw
many
Priya
strings, danced on my head, twirled, jumped through a hoop.
wrote a
That's
big
the
check.
entertaining
No.
version. Yeah, the real answer is not that interesting.
That's
um,
Priya keynoted was one of the big conferences recently, and I got a chance to see her. She's what's the book? The book is what? The Art of Gathering, right? Did I get it
yeah,
right?
where is it? Somewhere on the desk here, under a
Oh,
pile of
Chad,
things. The
this is
Art of
close. Yeah, there you
Gathering,
go. The Art of Gathering.
how we
So if you,
meet and why it matters. And I
yeah,
appreciate her perspective,
yeah,
maybe a little bit more unlike you and I, like, who live more in the professional gathering space.
right,
She shares a lot of examples of like a mom's group that gets together. And, one of her ideas is um, just attaching rules or guidelines to a gathering makes it more interesting. And so you got a mom's group that just meets up to walk with the kids in the stroller, or while the kids are at school or whatever else. That's cool. But if you have a mom's group that if you mention your kids, someone has to take a shot while they're walking, it's like all of a sudden way more intriguing. And this is an actual example she shares in the book. And I'm like, I think things like that, like more of the novel, unconventional examples that sometimes she shares from personal gatherings, I
yes,
appreciate thinking about and applying them in a professional setting too. For somebody who works in L&D and is gathering, 50 leaders for a summit, and they don't know the first thing about how to structure that time.
right.
There's some really lovely nuggets in there.
So I was talking with David Newman. We both had a similar experience. We both created happy hours during COVID, right? And the real key around it was no recording, no live stream, no agenda.
Mm.
And it
No
turned into what we,
agenda. Tell me,
No
pitch me,
agenda.
pitch me on no agenda, because I
Yeah,
think I disagree.
it's okay. It was happy hour and it was COVID, right? And so it became the most psychologically safe virtual meeting I've ever created. And it was just people showed up. It was Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, but people showed up at all different time zones. And the no agenda meant that there was no speaker. Because here's the problem about when speakers speak, even though we're speakers, members of National Speakers Association, a lot of times when people speak that nobody else can talk. And so right? It's so
That's true.
we turned it into happy hour. It was all based on conversation, whatever people wanted to talk about, and it became one of the most psychologically safe. And actually, the people demanded it twice a week in the height of COVID because they were end up using it like therapy. Like people were talking about getting jobs and losing jobs and being exposed and testing positive and testing negative, and it was this roller coaster ride where you just wanted to figure out too, people called in from all different locations. We were asking what different experiences. Somebody called in from Georgia, but not Georgia, Atlanta. We're talking Georgia, the country.
Mm.
And she said, we're having the same experience that you are, which I thought was really cool instead of, everyone's having a different experience. So that's what it
So this
really worked
is
out.
conflict makes podcasts interesting. So partly to be contrarian,
Sure.
I'm going to disagree.
Good.
And I'm not going to disagree with your experience and your story of that being beautiful because it sounds amazing and beautiful. But as a learning point of this podcast, for me, no agenda. I had a co-founder, Will Wise, who co-wrote Ask Powerful Questions together, and he passed away 3 years ago from cancer. And when he died, I remembered and kind of made solid
Mm.
a rule that he shared with me where he's just so unbelievably committed to spending intentional time with people as opposed to unintentional time with people.
Yes.
And so I now have a really hardcore rule of no ketchup on the calendar. Ketchup spelt like the sauce, but meaning if someone reaches out and says, "Hey, can we catch up?" I say no, but we can meet. What intention do we want to attach to this meeting?
Oh, that's nice.
So for me, right, just catching up is not a compelling enough reason to gather. And so the thinnest separation that I would add to no agenda is the tiniest agenda, one sentence that ends in a question mark.
Yeah.
Of like if the gathering, which it sounds like inherently it was, right? By the way, I'm like in no way critiquing the happy hour. In fact, I'm like as a learning point for anybody hosting gatherings, I think a no agenda gathering for someone who's not a professional facilitator, gatherer, speaker can easily be made 10 times more compelling and interesting and valuable if all you do is toss out one single question at the beginning of the time.
A micro agenda,
A
right?
micro agenda.
Yeah, and
There you
we
go.
sometimes I did that as a host. The host is also one
For
of
sure.
the right is one of that. We ended up playing games where I would like introduce something new or yeah, whatever topic that came up with that.
So there was an agenda.
But sometimes, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
And
in a
I'm
good
with
way.
you. I'm with you, right? Like actually, if you go back and I got my Chat GPT program, and if you ask like, how do you make a meeting more engaging? Like number one on there is like create an agenda so people know what's going on, right? Don't have a meeting without a purpose. But again, this meeting had a different purpose. There were some really cool moments that happened with it, Chad, that I'll share later. But let's see. So I have a conference coming up too, and I think we both sometimes have this similar challenge. So my conference is, I'll share a little bit. It's called the Engaging Retreat now, and it actually the members of it came back last year and said, "This is not a conference, this is a retreat."
Mm.
And so the wording is really unique around that. And it was so this is my 7th year convening. All first 5 years were all virtual, and they've gone through different formats. It was kind of like I think it started off as 5 days, like 4 hours a day, because it was virtual. So we do shorter days around it. What else was it? It was in conjunction with the release of my book. But what I did was I gathered in my book. I actually referenced over 50 different people who gave me their best techniques over what was working in COVID, and a lot of them had not seen in other places. It was really great, and so I brought them in as speakers so that people could learn more from them rather than just this one tip. You can learn 50, 60 minutes of material from them. Last year was the first year we went hybrid. So finally, after the 5th year, I was convinced. I believe I have to go hybrid. All right, because to bring the next element to it. And what was great about that is that I really needed to learn how to produce hybrid. And now I think I have one of the most engaging hybrids, on the technical side for microphones, for cameras, but on the human side, on the technique side, our speakers come to this too because they want to actually present in the most technologically advanced hybrid environment so they can really connect with people. So things that we have is multiple televisions. So you always have the gallery up, even if you're spotlighted. You can actually see their chats in large format. So while you're on stage, you can read their chats and decide to respond to them. And then you have like a preview of your slides. So you always know where you're at. And then you actually have people around you. So it's turned into something really, really great. Every year is slightly different. And this year, it's called the Engaging Retreat, and really we're sharing the top techniques for engagement. We've got top CEOs, a guy who's a co-founder with a mastermind with Jay Abraham. We've got the sales hunter, Mark Hunter is there. We have a two-time Ed Cohen, Training Magazine #1. He took 2 companies to the #1 slot on Training Magazine. We've got Tim Gard, who is, Hall of Fame funny, and Brian Walter, the NSA Northwest first person ever to win the Cavett Award, one of only 46. All coming with new material. The one that's really cool, I'm actually talking with a guy, Chad, I think you'll be interested in this. This guy, Ariel, created new technology to create brain scans that are actually easier and more visual to get. And we're actually going to wire up somewhere between 2 and 8 people in every session and run television so the audience can actually see their brain scans while they're attending this conference.
This is awesome.
Right? And so you can actually see the brain patterns of what does engaged look like.
This is so good. I love it.
So it's October 28th through the 30th. And here, I'll stick a link in the chat here for those who want to come to this. And you can actually attend virtually too, right? We have an audience of 300 to 500 on virtual. Might have more this year because we have a platform that's talking about sponsoring us. And then there's only 50 to 100. That's another secret too, Chad, that I've been looking at. And I don't know if you know the name Julius Solaris.
Yeah, I do. The event guy.
In the meeting space. And he's been really advocating for smaller meetings so that they're more intimate. It's not like a 2,000 affair. Like there'll only be 50 to 100 people in person. So
I'm doing something similar. I haven't launched this yet, but with the summit. So the summit's happening all virtually in December, but I'm doing the opening keynote or playnote for the Association of Experiential Education in November.
I've been a member. I've really cut my teeth in the beginning of my career at AEE. That's great.
So this is part of the world that I grew up in as well. It was that land of experiential ed, and so going to do the opening keynote, and I've worked it out with them that I'm just opening up intentionally 12 spots. They're quite expensive, but 12 spots to come spend a full day with me in person before AEE, and then join me for AEE in the opening keynote, and we'll do a live film session for YouTube. So I think that Julia Solaris, the creating more spaces and opportunities for intimate gatherings. And I don't, honestly, this is an experiment, so I don't know how it's going to go. I'm going to launch 2 passes side by side. And so like you can get either one. I mean, they're like one's 5 times more than the other, right? But it's also a totally different experience. And so we'll see what happens, but I'm very excited to spend that time way more intimately with just 12 people. Cause I think I had a mentor kind of challenge me recently and say, hey, built this business off the base premise of connection. And a lot of what you do is at scale. And you're very quick and creating scaled connection. What about like you and one other person, just eye to eye for long periods of time? What does that feel like? And I realized that, and I think a lot of folks probably could relate to this at NSA, that it's actually easier sometimes to hide behind 1,000 people than it is right with 5 to 10 people. And so I'm quite excited about that, creating that intimacy.
Yeah. You really get to know them and ideally have an impact around them. So anybody who does conferences too, right? What I also say, one of the biggest challenges, and especially now too, it's radically changed over the last 5 years about how do you attract people to this, right? Every conference organizer wants to do this. I've been a member of the virtual events on virtual events. That's Sage Events, who runs Tony Robbins' program. Tony Robbins actually got 40,000 plus virtual people to show up, for one of their programs. And I mean, that's the only hybrid studio or any virtual studio that is way better than than mine because he paid $5 million to be able to chain together, 40,000 people on Zoom in a place, which is great. I think it really changed the model for that. And lots of them talk about like how do we get people into it. And I'm curious about
Yeah.
what you're doing, and I'll share a little bit more about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In these different fields.
So I'll give you the before and after. So before, like last year, which maybe I should just do exactly what I did last year because it worked. But I just did a super standard early bird and not early bird. And there was just those date cutoffs, and 60% of people registered before early bird, and then the rest of the 40% sold out a couple weeks before the deadline. And I was hardcore about the deadline, about the cap, even with a virtual event.
Yeah.
I don't actually want 3,000 people on Zoom because most platforms that Remo can extend beyond this, but Zoom, like you cannot, I have pushed their customer service to the ends of the earth from enterprise. They will not allow more than 100 breakout rooms. Maybe you know some secret around this. I have not been able to get more than 100 breakout rooms, which means
Right.
that if you have more than 400 people online, maybe 500,
People in a
you're
room.
way past the size of a good breakout, in my opinion. Like you shouldn't
Yep.
have more than 4 to 5 people in a conversation because otherwise it's public speaking and not intimate connection.
Right.
And so, anyway, hardcore about that cap. So that's what I did last year. This year, I met some folks, partner with the folks who own facilitator.com and run facilitator.com. It's a company
Oh,
called AJ and Smart. And they have a very unconventional way of launching things that nobody else that I've come across in this world does. And it's like their launches are super tight. And so I partnered up with them to launch this masterclass that I was teaching on like the method of how I design every gathering.
yeah.
And so we just invited everybody from both of our lists to come to a free training. And we were very upfront in the beginning of that free training that it's like just going to be free value. And at the end, we're going to invite you to something and it's paid. And if you don't want to go, you don't have to. Just like there's like $1 million house for sale somewhere, you don't have to buy it. It's just there. And you can
Right.
if you want to. And
Mm.
so 2,500 people came to this Zoom webinar, and they were like, I have found at least the folks that I tend to hang out with, the facilitator kind of folks, really are very like, hey, you want to come to something? And I kind of was too, like, hey, you want to come to something? There's very low scarcity, low urgency. Whereas Jonathan and his team is like, no, we're going to make this offer. It's going to expire at midnight on the day that we run the webinar. It will only be available to people who are live. Nobody else is going to find out about it via email. We'll keep registration open for 3 more days, and then we're done. The launch is over. You can't get in, period. And like, you actually honor that. And
Wow.
so you create this culture of, and so I'm doing an adapted version of that with the summit, where September 23rd we'll be hosting a free training where everybody who shows up is going to get a free gift, but there will be a like webinar only offer for folks that will expire that day that will be worth $200, and nobody else, unless they were live on Zoom in that moment, will even know about that because it won't get emailed out afterward. It's just like that one quick thing because it will expire at midnight, and then the email that goes out the next morning we'll have a launch offer and a launch pass, but it won't be the same that everybody got on the live webinar. And it's, for me, it's, I don't like hosting parties and wondering if anybody's going to show up. I also like hosting parties with people who are like all in, super pumped to come
Yeah.
and aren't like fence sitting for 3 months and then like, like maybe I'll go. Maybe no. I want somebody to like say, yes, this is for me, or it's not, and then make a decision. And I think it's of service to like help people make quicker decisions so that they waste less of their time thinking about the decision.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I'm doing. Like the 95% of the launch is going to happen September 23rd to October 1st. I will keep a drip like of registration open through October. But that's it. Like, I don't care if 7 people sign up. Registration closes when it closes, and it is what it
Wow.
is. Yeah,
Wow.
interesting, right?
Well, I like that. I mean, the scarcity thing is obviously on there, and then what was known as the high ticket offer is what the virtual event talks about, right? There's actually a low ticket offer and a high ticket offer, so that's kind of like the parallel tracks too.
Wait, who talks about that? The virtual event on virtual event?
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know this.
Oh yeah, you should. There's actually one coming up in October, and you can attend for like as low as $97. But they have been helping other people who have virtual summits or any type of summits, but yeah, mainly virtual, and breaking down things like, I mean, I think Tony Robbins was one of the first to use it, but lots of other people have used it to create something. They have a whole strategy around how to run the conference so that the conference itself can actually sell it something at the end too.
Oh, interesting.
So it goes into
Yeah, and this
something
was.
deeper. Yeah.
And is that your? Can I? Are you willing to share openly about like how you're pricing the engaging retreat and your
Yeah,
thoughts behind
absolutely.
that?
Yeah. So, and maybe I got to change some of the aspects, but I do think that one of these things is kind of work, and it's really, I think, unique for the speakers too, uh, in the way that I have it. Okay, so one is I have three price points for it, right? There is a free ticket. There is a free ticket because what we do is we live stream the event, right, and then kill the live stream. So the live, you can actually watch it, right, but you can't have any recordings of it. And I'll allow that for free. And I kind of
Yeah.
like, I actually wrote this whole article, Chad, you'll love, which is virtual is the gateway drug to in person.
Funny. Okay.
And it's true. I actually was at a conference where I've been the virtual MC for 6 years, and this woman came up who was with the Hawaii Police Department because it's a government social media conference. Came up and said, "First, I have a gift for you." She goes, "Okay." So after this, I finish this thing. She comes up and she goes, "I got these, mac nuts for you, chocolate covered macadamia nuts." And she goes, "I just want to thank you." She goes, "Your virtual MC last year was so good that I was able to convince my department to send four of us in person."
Um,
And I said, "Wow!" Right,
Beautiful.
and so I gave that back to the organizer who hires me, and I said, "That was great." Okay, so that's that. The next level is 97. 97 is now you're in virtual, but this is a virtual VIP, and now you can actually interact. Right. So now you can actually be called up on stage, or you can chat with the speakers. You can have a full blown experience. So this is where that wall goes too. The live streams can't really do that, but
Yeah.
these other people now have the ability to either turn on camera or talk, and we actually find a way for them that the speakers can actually have a direct conversation with them, so they feel like a member of the audience. And
Hmm.
we've had people say, "I feel like I'm in the room with you." And then the actual program is 997, and so now you're in person, right? You can now interact with the speakers, but now you get all the breaks. So the 997 too includes all the food for 3 days and all the beverages, including alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. Chad,
This is like the cheapest open bar I've ever heard of, John.
I know. I mean, somebody could really, I'm sure, wreck me at some point, but it's there, and the way that we have this because we're not in a hotel allows us to do this at this price point because I didn't want to.
Mm.
I know all the F&B. I'm in the meeting planners, international membership for 18 years, so I looked for a different way to provide this, and if we do it this way. We can do this, and people loved it, right? Because now they don't have to worry about anything. But more
Yeah.
importantly, is I did the other part too, Chad. We have longer breaks, right? There are two 40-minute breaks in the beginning and in the morning and afternoon. There's a 1 hour lunch, and then there's a 2 hour dinner. And all the breaks are meant to be longer
Yep.
because people then can really right, take care of themselves and have a deep conversation and not feel like they're being rushed.
Mm.
And I think that that's a really important part, as well as taking a break so that you can, consume more education, traditional style presenting. And again, all the presenters are not traditional. They're all interacting with the audience. They all know they got to bring their A engagement game here.
Right.
Otherwise, they're going to get
To
an
the engaging
earful
retreat. If they're
from
not engaging at the engaging retreat, reviews are not going to look good at the
uh,
end of that session.
exactly. So
Yeah.
then the last part is, I think that the biggest part is that all the attendees, right, the first 50 attendees in the night between 7 and 10 p.m. get 5 minutes on the stage and they get coached by all the speakers.
Mm.
So now the whole conference in the evening turns around and
Hmm.
people in the audience get to share their experience with it, right? All
Hmm.
the speakers become coaches trying to help them out. And so yeah, so that's what the speakers don't get paid and they get paid, right? Many of them come of their own volition, but if they attract people, they get a third of every ticket that comes in. And more importantly, is that they get four camera video. So a lot of the speakers too are bringing new material that they don't have videoed yet.
Hmm.
So now we give them four camera video plus an edited video at the whole thing so that they can use it at the end. And they also can make a small offer. They can make an offer towards the end of their program. Like their whole program can't be an offer, but they can offer something. But what they find is that because they hang around for 3 days, they end up really making real connections with people, right? And then people, self choose who wants to collaborate and who doesn't. And I think that's the part last year that really made it a retreat and not a conference, is that
Mm.
it was small enough that you really got to know everybody who was in person and have these networking moments that allowed you to create a real relationship. You're not just Chad on stage. I know you now as Chad the scuba diver or Chad the whatever, right?
Sure. I'm curious. You've got hybrid, so 300 to 500 people remotely. Are all your speakers in person, and
Yes,
you're live streaming what's happening in person
yes.
to the group? And how are you managing engagement and interaction with the 300 to 500?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I talked about those TVs and those setups, right? So one is you can always chat, and they know that now the speaker is able to see the chats, and often our speakers will react or say something, right? Oh, Chad just chatted that like we need this card that says, what's one of your most important values, right? So
Mm.
they are doing things like that, like doing call outs. And let's say you raise your hand or whatever, you choose and your camera's on, we will actually spotlight you and the speaker, just like you're seeing here with us.
Mm.
And the two of you now can have this conversation in the middle of, your presentation, just like if you walked out in the audience with a mic.
And do you have your role in this? So, like some of my favorite hybrid events that I've been to, actually all of them have a designated virtual producer that's like that person is solely responsible
Yep.
for the making the 300 to 500
Yep.
have an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And so I'm always really curious because it's so easy to design remote for mostly consumption or like little chat participation, which
Yes.
can be meaningful. But what's really meaningful is three people having a conversation with each other. And so
Yes.
actually being able to split out into breakouts and meet somebody else and make
Yep.
connections similar to what you're making in person, just not extended over time. And so are you playing that role, or do you have somebody else coming in and managing, splitting people up and having conversations?
Yeah, so when I'm not presenting, yes, I'm the lead producer, and I've got my good friend Adam Teague. So when I am on stage, he's producing for me. And so
Yep.
cool things that would happen, Chad, like if you're going to do a breakout, is that the room will break up into tables already. They're in tables like that. So they do a table exercise, and then we end up shutting off the audio into the Zoom. And now we put them into breakouts. And here's a crafty trick that most people don't know, too. When we do breakouts, we actually unassign one room and we put it
Okay.
back in the main room. And here's the reason why. Because, right, Zoom can't record 100 breakout rooms.
Right.
So what we do is we leave one person in there. So if you're watching the video of this section, you can watch one group interact. So you kind of get the feeling of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Okay, so I'm so intrigued by that because I'm actually at this choice point of considering not doing any breakouts in Zoom and only using Remo
Yeah,
for the breakouts because
your number.
when breakouts in Zoom, the main room
Yeah.
for the 10 minutes or 15 minutes that a conversation might be going on, I've found like 7 minutes is somebody logged in from their car and they don't know what's happening and they're in the middle of a breakout and there's all this like intermediary stuff. So are you saying in the main room there's a group that's able to have a proper conversation that gets recorded? What do you do with I'm assuming there's people who their Wi-Fi cut out, they logged off, they join afterward.
Yep.
Uh,
So what happens is well, one is all the people, especially in large conferences, right? People are coming in and out all the time.
yeah.
So one is that we unassign a group, right? So let's say you break out a 40-person group into 10 rooms, so there's 4 per room.
Yep.
So they're in rooms 1 through 10. We take 4 of them, like let's say it's room 10, and then put them back in the main room before we
Yep.
start the breakout room. So those
Yep.
4 are there. Now, if those 4 are not inside of there, we either wait for new people to log in, or I'll keep unassigning another room until the main room has somebody talking in it. We also have a virtual MC who already knows what you're doing. So if you, Chad, are in person, we have a virtual Chad, right, who knows
Yep.
the assignment and is facilitating that conversation with them.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that waiting place. It's kind of like if you have a breakout in a lobby, it'll likely be a more distracting breakout. It's actually like a brilliant idea to have the breakout in like have it be a recorded space, so the recording is like you're just kind of tracking right along
Yeah.
with folks. what I want Zoom to do is to have like a lobby in between the waiting room and the live session where
Yeah.
someone can be sitting in the lobby welcoming all the like
Oh,
weird tech stuff that's coming in and out and being
yeah.
like, hey, where are you at? Did you just join late? Do you want to be in a breakout room? Some of that, like the welcoming that would happen typically in the lobby of like, here's your
Yeah.
lanyard. Because I think that's part of creating a space that feels welcoming, but that technically Zoom doesn't allow. I'm sure there's a platform that does.
Well,
Um,
there is kind of a way we've done things like that, and I know what you're trying to get at. Number one is too is we're going to use adult learning, which is that we'll actually turn on the ability. Anybody can move out of any breakout room. So what we train people at the beginning of the conference, you get a dead breakout room, you can jump rooms yourself.
yep.
You can also leave that room and go back to the main room and saying none of my people were talking in my room, so I decided to come back here and hang out with you, Chad. So
Yeah, sure.
so that's one, and the other one is that you can make rooms all the time that are different names. Like we actually built a hotel in Zoom once, right? We actually called that we turned on breakout rooms and left them on all the time. And one of
Hmm.
the rooms was called the hallway, and one of them was called the registration desk, and one of them was called, whatever. And so if you came in and didn't know what's going on, you would see this room at the top called the registration desk. You could go there and ask questions where you're not bothering the keynote speaker in the session that's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we
Great,
did a
great, great.
whole bunch of stuff like that and either leave that breakout room running or, we would close them when we wanted to bring everyone together and then put them back on and stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, I think the imagine for everybody that comes, similar to the Connector Summit, like 30 to 40% of the value is actually just watching how you make this particular meeting really engaging. And so this happened at the last summit that,
Yeah.
yeah, everybody comes to like, I loved everything that was being shared in the ideas. And also, I have a whole separate page of notes of just like, you just did this. And I'm going to immediately just grab that and apply it to my own thing that I'm hosting later, whether it's in person or remotely.
Yeah, we tell
Cool.
that people that too. That's why we get a lot of meeting planners. They come there and they can actually sit in the production booth. The
Mm,
production booth is actually in the middle of the room, not in the back of the room. And
mm.
so either if you want to take a table behind or sit in, we have one or two chairs. You can sit in the production booth and see how we are doing all the stuff inside of that because we want people to know. We want to get rid of boring ass meetings in the world and let everyone figure out how to, these are the techniques we're using. You could adapt them into yours if you want.
I love it. So
Yeah.
brilliant. Okay. I need to go have lunch with my lovely wife and my lovely daughter. And so I'm wondering if I can prompt us into each taking 5 seconds to just get super deeply curious and ask each other one final question to wrap up, unless you have a plan that you want to roll with.
I have the speed round. So let me ask
Ooh.
these. Let me see. I think I've got 5 questions in the speed round.
Hit me.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh, so this is the speed round. We're going to ask you questions. You're going to try and answer them as fast as possible. Your favorite me and we card.
Mm. What brings you joy? It's a sticker that's included in the deck.
Oh, there we go. Your best networking moment of the year.
Just yesterday, I've been obsessed with the song "We Go Together" by Wes Urbaniak, and I was thinking, wow, we need to start off the Connector Summit with this song, and so I just like hustled like crazy, found his contact info, and had an hour conversation with him yesterday, and he's gonna live perform this song at the summit, and it is just like meant to be felt at the deepest soul level, and so I'm super psyched about that.
Oh, that's a great manifestation. That's great. Favorite YouTuber that's not you.
Ooh, um, this is totally like off topic, offshoot, but I have to pay homage to the Money Guy show. Um, I'm forgetting the one's name, Brian and somebody, they co-host this show. They're like boring financial advisors that 10 years ago or 8 years ago, like really gave me just a brilliant personal finance education. And they just put
Ooh,
out a ton of really good free content. So here you go.
genius. Okay, and the best person you'd like to give a shout out that registered for your conference last year.
Hmm. I'm going to give a shout out to somebody this year. Somebody reached out, and so that somebody's registered before registrations opened because they reached out. And this year, we're including the new Future Focus deck of We Connect cards along with
Ooh.
registration. So, and it'll actually only be given to people who register for the summit. We're not going to release them publicly because I want everybody with this deck to be trained really well. And so somebody named Christy reached out and was like, I need the deck for a thing that's happening now. Like, can I just register early? And so I'm giving a shout out to this year.
Aw. All right. Well, then I'll let you lead this close. You choose a question or process.
Yeah. So the question I'm actually most curious about, even before you ask me what's my favorite question in the deck, is related to the engaging retreat. I'm curious what brings you the most joy about that, and what is actually a bit stressful, because hosting something is also like there's some pressure as well.
The thing that brings me the most joy is it's why I actually love producing. It's weird that I'm in National Speakers Association as a producer, but I got to tell you that producing is like, for those who've written the book Flow, you have to be in the flow state to do it right. You have to be hyper aware of everything that's going on in the room to really understand what's going on. And I love it, actually. Actually recently wrote an article going, why do I love this right here? Oh, it was at NSA Influence. I accidentally started producing the chapter's leaders meeting because there's nobody doing it. And it was like, there's stuff that wasn't working right. And I started playing music during all the awards and during all the breaks. And like, for instance, they had a laptop change. Somebody had to do a laptop change, and it went way longer than it was supposed to. And I started playing music inside of there, and immediately everyone, without any instructions, got up and started networking with each other. And I was like, that's when you know, right, producing is actually adding something to the environment, because people are happy and they are doing the things naturally without you ever having to say to do them. So those are the things. I think producing is also the most stressful thing in some ways, because it's all time oriented, and there's nothing worse than when something wrong is happening either on the technical or the human side that you have to fix immediately. And people actually who know me know I get into a different mode. Like, we could sit around and ask questions and facilitate for a long time, but when I'm in producer mode, a lot of times it is command and control and like, fix this now. And it's all for the audience if people don't understand that, and sometimes I have to train them that, but it can be stressful.
Yeah, you should like shift into like full task mode and intentionally let go of relationships for the sake of relationships. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks. You got a question for me, and then we'll wrap it
I
up.
have a
Give each other a
question
virtual
for
high
you.
five, elbow bump, and say this was
My
awesome.
question for you, yeah, what's if you could magically get people to remember one thing from this interview, what would it be? And then you can have a beautiful lunch.
I'm gonna go back to Priya Parker's my example of the moms group and like attaching rules to a gathering. At some point, I realized that all a game is an objective with rules.
Yeah.
Hit this tiny little white plastic ball into that hole. That's the objective. But you have to use these long, weird silver clubs, and it's also 300 yards away. And it's like you attach all these rules, and if you get it in the water, you get -2. It's like golf. People, I don't like golf, but people like golf because there's a weird, actually, and not even particularly useful objective, but it's made fun with rules. And so if you want to make something engaging, just attaching some rules with the intent of making it more intriguing, fun, novel, challenging, etc., turns something boring into something interesting.
Hmm. Chad, thank you so much for spending a little time here on the Engaging Virtual Meeting podcast. And I hope to attend your conference too. I can take a peek, and I will definitely send you an invite to mine. And otherwise, I look forward to the next time that we can hang out in the real life or on the virtual life.
I would majorly love that. Cheers,
Thank
Tom.
you. All right, we've been talking with Chad Littlefield, and he's basically been saying, all right, how are you connecting? And what's a different question you can ask? All of you who are listening to this, why don't you throw out the question like, what do you do? And decide on some other more unique question, like, what does your perfect morning look like? What is one of your most important personal values? And he's got like 40 or 50 more. I think he might even have some on his website. Make sure and check it out. I left a link inside of there, and check out his conference, Chad Littlefield. Definitely check out his YouTube channel. I subscribe and I'm keeping an eye on, and one day I will hit some numbers like our good friend Chad Littlefield. Make sure and check out too the engaging retreat coming up here. And let's see, what do I got here? Oh yes, if you're watching, subscribe, share, like, comment. We'll see you. Thanks for those who have been online with us. You want all the episodes? Go to engagingvirtualmeetings.online. And we talked about this conference. Now, why don't you be there? I'm thinking about putting together an event, Chad. Like again, all of my speakers give like 6 minutes of content apiece, and that's the one entry point. I've got to figure out if I can do this, but if I do it, I was inspired by you, Chad, and your friends at facilitator.com. Hey, I'm John Chen. I hope you've had a great morning with me and Chad, and I will see you next time.
Always start people and keep people. Show